Don't put your number. Don't put your number.
I'm not putting my number. I'm putting your number.
That's my room.
Okay, put my number.
I'm hungry.
Okay, well, don't be such a b****. I cooked you some bacon for a trail snack.
I ate it already.
What flavor coffee is that? Up dog?
What's that?
I don't know. Nothing. What's up with you?
It's the Al Travis Show, and I've got him, Senator John Hoffman. What's up, Doc?
That's funny. Your outtakes, dude. Do you do those, or did you hire somebody to do
I got a young man who's helping get himself through college by finding those for me.
It just every time, you know, it's you segue in, your outtakes, your intakes are just absolutely the best. The best, especially the quotes from the 80s movies, man, that I just start cracking.
I will tell him that because a new batch has arrived. We haven't got him in the machine yet. A new batch has arrived, and I told him, I get it. He's a young man. He's a college kid. Yeah. And I said, I get the movies you've given to me, and they're kind of funny. I get it. But we're old that do this show. Give me 80s movies. Give me 90s. I want old. Give me the classics. And he said, oh, okay, sir. So we're getting him. We'll see what he popped for me. How's the wife? What?
That's it. The kid, so he's looking for, give me the classics. Give me the 80s, man. You know, it's like, well, wait a minute. Yeah, we are old. I mean, that really just disturbs me, dude. It's just like to the point of, I don't want to feel old.
I know, but we are. And then you look at things like Star Wars. When Star Wars came out, the second movie, your wife gave me tickets at prom to go to. That's how old that movie is. Oh my God. It's going to be on TNT as a classic, so 50 years and more soon. And I was going to prom with that movie.
And you're talking to a phone about as big as this box is. You're like, do you notice this box? Do you know what this box is?
Maduros? I love those. Yeah. So we are old, and to look at this 20-something-year-old kid in the head and said, I appreciate the work you're doing. I love the stuff. You're working hard. But the last set of movies were all these. I hadn't watched them, or at least maybe I heard about them because of my kid, but they weren't movies of my genre. And I'm like, you got to get older, bud. The people listening to talk radio, a little older than 20 years old.
Yeah.
And his eyes light up. Oh, yes, sir. I'll get on it. So we'll see what he got for me.
Because now they get their news or their information that's from these these apps on the phone, and none of them are vetted. Back in the day, my wife got suspended because she was making fun. Her morning show, they decided to make fun of this one person's son who happened to be the governor of Iowa, and he called the program director and just lit it up with him, and they were friends, and so he's like, sorry, I got to suspend you for a day. So she had a day off, and she got paid. I mean, but it didn't affect her ratings. I mean, she still had a 22 share, but it was just like those days, just everything had to be vetted. They'd rip their AP read, and they would read their, the Associated Press News, and it's like,
I work for radio station. AP News, for folks you don't know, typewriter just continuously fed news off this thing. I mean, same story over and over. And you'd go rip it off and read it as the news guy.
Yes.
I was at a radio station, no lie. They were so cheap. They wouldn't let us rip the stories off. You'd have to get it cut at one of the pages that would have been perforated so that they could put the paper back in the other way and do stories on this back side of the newspaper. By that time, you're reading it, the afternoon guy is like, you couldn't read through it. It was like, what the heck is going on? There's Braille on both sides. It was horrible.
How about it? But my best was so she takes over this morning radio show, and it's an Albatron or whatever, Albatron rating station. I mean, it was
Arbitron.
Right. And so it was huge, right? And they used to do all their stuff. And the day her show went number one, right? Her morning show, she took it from in the pits to number one, and she did that at every morning show that she was at, and it was number one. And the program it wouldn't be the station manager was the one who suspended her, but it was the program director who said, after they won, they should have been celebrating, should have been a cake, should have been ice cream. Way to go, we finally hit it, right? And he looks at her and he says, you know what, you're not number one enough.
Give me more. Yeah, it's a terrible business. Just so folks who haven't heard this story, we've done it, but a lot of new radio stations come on. John's wife was working on a Friday afternoon, And I presume it was WLOL. I don't even know if they're still that.
It was the LOL. It was the pop, top of the IDS, 99 and a half. Yeah, it was.
So Jennifer Arneson and I shouldn't probably name her name, we're going to prom. We're all duded up. We're driving to prom. I'm in my dad's Cadillac, which sounds better than it was, and it had one of those huge phones in it. I mean, a massive phone. The battery was in the trunk, and it just got hotter than all get out. Anyway, we're driving. Your wife throws out, "Be number 5 caller. You'll win tickets to the premiere of the second Star Wars flick." And Julie looks at me and I said, "Give it a shot." And she dials up, and what do you know? She's like, "Caller number 9. You're it." So she's talking to your wife on the phone as we're heading to prom and go to the dinner. Get the tickets. Oh, guy said, "Well, I guess we got a second date." Okay. We show up. We were king and queen of the prom. Everybody had heard it. LOL at the time. Everyone our age at 18. That's all you listened to. Johnny Hines and
Hines and Berglund. And then it was Miller Mondale. Well, Miller Mondale. No, it was and then Eleanor Mondale was on there with John Hines. Eleanor was it was a good
So anyway, that's the story. That's and I didn't realize it. Well, I don't think it was your wife at the time, but after we get to be friends and you're on the show a little bit, we start talking. I find out it is your wife who gave me the tickets, and now it's a small world. All right, that's the story. Let's do one negative story before we go to break. You're laughing. It's a small world, Johnny. Now we're both cigar-smoking guys doing radio. Come on, how much fun is this?
Talking about our garages. I mean, you're talking about full circle. Yeah, the best life of my, it's like I was trying to explain my neighborhood, and I said, well, best part of life was high school. They went to Osseo or Park Center, and then everybody had a TV in their garage and a refrigerator, and it's like it was the essential stereotypical man cave, and then I proved it when John Kerry was running for president, right? They wanted us to go. The Twins were in the World Series, right? And it was like, and this person, I won't name her name because she still lives in the cities, which let's just say John Kerry's running mate, her last name was his last name. They were related. And we're like, no, it's the Twins. Here, let's go outside. So we took her outside, and everybody in High Point, all their garages were open, and everybody had a TV in their garage, and they were all watching the Twins. And it was just like, you could not make this up, but it was just like, that's life in Minnesota right there.
So in this little small town, my daughter-in-law became my daughter-in-law a couple years ago. She runs for city council.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a good guy. I'll come knock on doors. It was some Saturday afternoon, whatever it was, Sunday afternoon. The Gophers were on. And we're walking down the street knocking, and every flipping garage door was up. There was beers. I was working, so I didn't. Had I wanted to walk everyone, here's a piece of, beers. I could have been drunk off my kahunas. Everyone was out watching the game door by door. I didn't miss any of the football game. In between hikes, then I would just walk to the next house and watch it. It was amazing. That's what we do in Minnesota. The garage is your man cave. You live there. That's what you do. Yeah, I love it.
It is.
All right, now I got to go to break. We'll talk about the business stuff on the other side. Thank you, John. Senator John Hoffman, more with him. We'll actually talk Minnesota's politics right after this.
If it's your turn to host a game, Grandpa's Barbecue suggests you try something different. Put out the perfect barbecue flavor of Grandpa's Barbecue. Add it to your ribs, dip the meatballs, or drench your wings in the original flavor of Grandpa's Barbecue. It isn't too hot or spicy, fruity or smoky or whatever. Grandpa's Barbecue. Available in select stores and online at grandpasbarbecueshop.com.
There are many ways to explore Alexandria. Some like to experience the outdoors and all the fun winter in Minnesota can provide. Pick your favorite way to get in touch with nature. Others like to explore downtown in the warm comfort of a boutique or gathered around a table with friends. You can do all of that or relax and do nothing at all. Come explore Alexandria. Start planning at explorealex.com.
nice to know a guy that knows a guy. Al Travis.
Love having him on the program. He's Senator John Hoffman. Senator, you know I'm not a smart man. I need it laid out.
He starts out, I'm not a smart man.
You know that's true. I don't even pretend to be a smart man, but this is what we got to do.
All right.
We got to stop with the public servant, the politician speak when we're talking about budgets. I came down with Lisa Damuth, Speaker Damuth here last week.
Yep.
Have all these folks coming on, and this House wants to cut $1 billion, the Senate wants to cut $2 billion, the governor's going to cut $256 million. But when the only number I could find is us getting to about 67 billion, which is about 40% above what we were 4 years ago. You're saving, even if it has to go up, and life gets expensive. I'm not even saying it can't go up, but I'm tired of people trying to tell me how much they're cutting my money as it's going up. Yeah. Can we at least start talking like normal people? That's not how you do your home budget at home. You and the wife aren't saying, well, we're going to save money because I'm going to spend $100 more next week instead of the $2 I wanted to. No one talks like that.
No. I mean, welcome to government speak. You know that it's a forecast. You always hear this thing about, structural deficit or forecasted spending. Forecasted spending, that's not real cash on the table, right? It's forecast based on what? Based on what you're forecasting is going to happen. Yeah. And I'll give you another example. 2 years ago, I was upset. The Human Services forecasted X amount of dollars needs to be spent to cover the services and supports that are needed for the most vulnerable people in the world. We're talking about people with disabilities, grandpa and grandma, and poorest of the poor, right? So it's what government exists for.
Throw those numbers out again, John. I think you said 25% are special needs and 25% are elderly?
20%. So you got one in five people in the state of Minnesota have some kind of special health need, right? Special health need. There's something there, right? And then you look at 1 in 10 in Minnesota, and it's chronic, right? So name a chronic something that you live with chronically, right? And then you look on top of that. Then let's add this to the factor. The next year or so, 25% of our state's population will be 65 or older. 25%. So now you're talking about a whole bunch of people that are going to have some kind of specific special needs. I don't care what that specific special need is, because it's going to be, it could be anything from helping out, food, you just name it, right? It's something that's going to be there as a safety net, right? And people talk about assumptions. And so there was an assumption that was made in 2020. And then in 2022, the assumption, there was what they call an underspending, right? So they take the assumed amount. It was $1.825 billion of underspending in human services, meaning from the assumed forecast, $1.825 billion wasn't spent. So that $1.825 billion, it went into the general fund. It means it was open for anybody. And so that's how government works, Al. And a lot of times, I get just so confused when somebody talks about, well, really, there's a reason why we did more spending when we knew we were going to have a structural deficit is because there was one-time money. I'm like, okay, fine. So the one-time money means that you paid for some programs that were only going to last 4 years or something, right? Or you have and then what we did in human services is we 2011. Minnesota was in the kind of a scene where we're at now, where they cut $2 billion from human services, and there's a lot of programs that got capped because of that. My last 2 years, I went ahead and almost fixed everything that was done wrong like 14 years prior. Well, now we're back in that same boat where we're going to have to go backwards in order to maintain.
Let's talk about that, because I think you said on the show last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, when they gave you your budget number. And what happens is the big bosses come down to John's, the chairs of the committees, and said, John, Department of Human Services, here's your number to hit, right? Whatever that is.
Yep.
Did you tell me it was $750 million you had to cut or some number like that? I don't know why that sticks in my head.
Yeah, it's right. It's close, yeah.
Okay. Have you then, 2 weeks later, with the help of all the people on your committee, have you found them and have you agreed on them, and is Human Services budget for the Senate side anyway?
On the Senate.
Done?
Yep. And we did it with two things. Number one, I didn't want anybody, I don't want anybody dying, Al. I mean, this is why, you're talking about, and number
You're
two,
such a goody two shoes.
They were honest with me when I said, look, we make up 25.7% of the budget. I'll make 25.7% of the cuts. And so guess what? I'm making 25.1% of the cuts is what I'm making. And we can do that. And it's cuts based on those assumptions, based on those forecasted projections. So we're saying, all right, we're going to do this. And then I can handle that. We can handle that without really disrupting,
Wasn't some operating systems or something? You're throwing a bunch of alphabet soup at me. The ODDC changed to a DYN, and that's how you did it? Is it an accounting? Tell us how you saved it.
BLS, we were basing inflationary factors on the BLS, and those your accountants would know, your golf playing buddies would know what a BLS factor is, looking at inflationary adjustments based on that. And most organizations and most folks use the CPIU, right? And so we did BLS. No, you're laughing. We did that.
You just throw alpha suit at me like, yeah, okay. I'll ask my golf buddies.
We did that because when we redid disability waiver rate system in Minnesota, we had to make a centralized pot, and it was mostly county-based. And because it was county-based, we had to get some adjustments. That's why we did BLS, so it made some flexible adjustments. You don't need that anymore, right? We can just go with one CPIU. Just that in and of itself is a forecasted savings, of $504 million. So
this makes you sound very, and you're going to hate me for saying this, very Doge-like. You almost sound Elon Musky that you came up with
Goodbye, I'm leaving. See you later. That is the biggest bunch of crap.
No, you just saved $500 million by changing the alphabet,
cars, dude. This is crap. I'm so sick and tired of people. Oh, Doge. Really, Doge is stupid. And from the viewpoint of this, you have programs that were instituted by Supreme Court decisions, and they're starting to challenge those. And I'm just like, come on, guys, seriously.
I think I hit a nerve.
No, you didn't hit a nerve.
I'm giving you credit for saving $500 million because they said save 7 and you found the one, and I don't know what a BSI and it's the OCD. I don't care. But I'm glad you did it. That's all I'm saying. I'm glad you did it. So now how much of that do you send over to the House guy in the same committee and say, this is how you do it, whoever you are, and I don't know who it is, get this done? Are you guys going to have your side? Department of Human Services pretty. And
the House has 1.3 billion in deficits versus the 700 million in this. So the Senate and the House targets are different, right? And so that's when those people in the corner office are going to go negotiate. I can't handle 1.3 billion without hurting somebody in our most vulnerable populations. Period. 1.5 billion. Hurting, someone's going to get hurt, right? And so the Senate, I can handle that one. Yeah, we can structurally handle that. We can tighten our belt. We can move forward, and but there's still people are debating out there. To your point, well, you're making cuts. Nah, we're not making cuts. We're making adjustments based on these assumptions that are sitting out there, and the systems are hurting anyways, right? I mean, it's really sad, but anyway, there you go. I
appreciate it. Make a small note right next to your name. Don't mention Doge. Okay, I won't bring it up when he's around. Senator,
I did that in a hearing. This guy who keeps mentioning it all the time, and I was doing some stuff, and I looked at him and I said, I can handle anything, but if you mention Doge one time in this hearing, I said I'm going to absolutely lose it. And so,
Hoffman, I love having you on the show. Thanks for doing this for me, my friend. Appreciate you, Senator John Hoffman.